Selma community. This is Dr. Avis Williams, the proud superintendent for Selma City Schools, and this is our Framework for Excellence Strategic Plan relaunch. This is our Strategic Planning Summit, and I am just super excited to be here today as we walk through our current strategic plan to include some exciting new updates. Now, 3 years ago, this process started with a transition team, and this team consisted of people from throughout the community, from elected officials, parents, internal team members to include teachers and principals, and even some of our scholars. And within the work of that team, 4 areas were identified as priorities. Area 1 is teaching and learning. Area 2, culture, climate, and community. Area 3, leadership, governance, and management. And Area 4, facilities and technology. Well, today we're going to review the accomplishments of each of those areas and also give you a preview of what's ahead for those areas. But the one thing I'm really excited about is we're going to take a deep dive in the newest part of our strategic plan, Area 5, which is safety and wellness. And you'll find that this part is very specific to physical and emotional safety as well as overall wellness. And you know, the pandemic changed so much for all of us. And we're being responsive to that, not only in the updates to our overall strategic plan, but also in adding this additional area. So these updates are taking in consideration the pivots that we had to make with the pandemic. And also the new learning. You know, the pandemic has been challenging, it's been hard for all of us, but it's also been a time for us to learn and to grow. And this strategic plan speaks to that learning and that new growth. Now, our vision for Selma City Schools is to be documented as a model school district where our scholars have opportunities to excel. That is the vision that came out of our original strategic plan in 2018, and it still holds true today. Our core values are students first, teamwork, excellence, equity, joy, and integrity. And you'll see those core values woven throughout our strategic plan. I want to take a moment to thank our Board of Education for their support as we work through implementing our current strategic plan, but also supporting us through this pandemic and also the encouragement for us to be motivated to relaunch this strategic plan. I also want to thank Raphael Simmons. He's our Director of Federal Programs and Strategic Planning, and he has led this process. He's made sure that our team leads had the resources that they needed and also made sure that we had a solid plan in place for developing this roadmap and also for monitoring our strategic plan as we move forward. I want to thank each of the team leads as well. And you're going to meet some of those team leads as they share various aspects of the area that they were responsible for within our strategic plan. And then as we wrap up today, we have a great surprise for you. We've got Dr. Lamar Shields, and he's going to bring a powerful message to us to get us motivated and excited and really to celebrate the work that we've done and also the work that we have ahead. So again, welcome to our Strategic Planning Summit. This is a framework for excellence. Our theme is one team, one voice, committed to excellence, and I'm so excited that you all are a part of that team. So thank you for joining us. Be sure that you give us feedback about the strategic plan. There's a QR code that's located on our social media as well as our websites. Asks you just some really simple questions to let us know, what do you think about our plan? If there's something that you love about it, tell us. If we're missing something, let us know, because this is a living, breathing document that we want to ensure is designed to meet the needs of not only our schools, but our community as a whole. So again, give us your feedback because it will help us get better. Again, welcome to our Strategic Planning Summit. One team, one voice, committed to excellence. And from here, we're going to go through our plan. So we'll begin with Area 1, which is teaching and learning.
Good morning. On behalf of the Teaching and Learning Team, Area 1, Principal Carter and I would like to thank each team member individually and the group collectively. Again, we say thank you for serving and continuing to serve, as we know teaching and learning is truly evolving and ever-changing. I would like to take a brief moment to share with you a few highlights from our committee work as it relates to teaching and learning Area 1. I think it was Dickens that said, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But in spite of, in the midst of the pandemic, the teaching and learning department was able to provide 100% of our scholars one-to-one Chromebook distribution. Robotics, coding, and Google Classroom training certifications were held for our teachers. Academies of academic excellence are established at every elementary school. We increased the number of dual enrollment options from 2 to 10. Our scholars have the opportunity to take classes here locally, but as far as the University of West Virginia. We increased graduation rate by 6%, which increased our state report card by 8 points and 1 letter grade. We created Saints Virtual Academy, grades 6 through 12, and I'm proud to announce we now have Saints Virtual Academy for scholars kindergarten through 5th grade. In the works for teaching and learning, we will have a team of interventionists and math coaches available to our scholars. K-2 auxiliary teachers will also be available, as well as STEM certification here inside of Selma City Schools. Thank you.
Good morning, Team Selma. I'm Courtney Washington. Principal Pritchett and myself serve as team leads for Area 2, and we'd like to thank each of our team members for working with us throughout this process. Area 2 focuses on culture, climate, and community. The goal for Area 2 is to enhance the supports and engagement opportunities provided in schools to stakeholders to ensure a positive, sustained culture and climate. Our accomplishments thus far: social contracts are in all classrooms. In 2018, we hosted at least 2 district-wide poverty simulations that were supported by community partners. We hired a community engagement specialist. Hey, Team Selma, that's me. We launched a superintendent advisory for all stakeholders, which includes a student advisory council, a parent advisory council, a teacher advisory council, as well as a community advisory council. We initiated trauma-informed and restorative practices. All of our schools have at least 5 dedicated partners. We implemented an Aim for Excellence Awards for celebrations and recognitions, and you may recall our year-end celebration, the AMEs, that we host at the end of each school year. Something to look forward to from Area 2. We'll be hiring social workers to provide an extra layer of support for our scholars. We will enhance family engagement. We are developing an equity framework and deepening our work around restorative practices. And now we'll have Area 3.
Good morning. I have Area 3, which is Leadership, Management, and Governance. Our goal is to strategically and efficiently allocate resources according to need to improve the physical health and use of talent to ensure long-term viability of the district. So this morning I will share a few of our accomplishments in this area. Our first accomplishment that I would like to share is that we have established a district-wide grant writing team to research, write, vet, and track grants. We've been awarded $3.8 million in grants from entities such as Blue Cross Blue Shield, State Council on the Arts, Child Nutrition, Bullying Prevention, and At-Risk High Hopes. These are just to name a few. We've also launched an Aspiring Leaders Academy to create a leadership pipeline. So far, we have completed 2 very successful cohorts of members that have been promoted to state level jobs, district level jobs, and school-wide jobs. We have also established a human resources social media presence on Facebook, highlighting their vacancies and positions filled. We have developed an employee assistance program to help employees work through various life challenges that could affect their job performance, health, and personal well-being. We also have accomplished a strong teacher mentoring program that provides support for new teachers, and our mentors receive state stipends that are allocated from state funds. We recently reorganized the district and added 2 positions, Director of Elementary Education and Director of Secondary Education, to improve supports and services. We have provided all employees with a $600 incentive. We have increased the accreditation score by 100 point plus. And in our pursuit of excellent quality and performance, we are the only school district in the state of Alabama to earn the Pathway Tier 1 and Tier 2 Performance Excellence Awards. Coming soon. Thank you. Coming soon, we will be working on our service excellence framework, and we're working on our principal supervisor certification for all school support administrators. Currently, the superintendent, the chief academic officer, and 1 director have been certified as principal supervisors. And this will help us to effectively support all of our schools by having our school support administrator certified. Thank you. Area 4.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Mr. Coleman and I headed up the Facilities and Technology Committee Area 4. And Mr. Coleman is here seated in front, taking care of the technology as we speak. But we would like to thank all of our members of our committee, all their tireless work in assisting us in coming up with the accomplishments that we have for Area 4. Goal 4 reads, streamline the district's current geographic footprint to ensure a more equitable distribution of resources, more efficient operations, and to enhance current technology, infrastructure, equipment, and devices to support student success. Our accomplishments, our middle school education was rebranded through the development of a STEAM Academy at R.B. Doesnt. The district was right-sized by closing 3 buildings. We increased our transportation services as of this year. We increased our bus fleet, and of course this is a work in progress, with the purchase of a total of 5 new buses. We're upgrading our HVAC units. We have several that will be completely replaced. Some have already been replaced this current school year. But definitely doing this in the attempt to improve air quality, especially because of COVID-19 and the need to make sure that all of our scholars and staff members have quality air as they are in workspace. We've improved our ventilation and air quality, as I've already said. We purchased 505 Bellara Air Surface Pro air scrubbers to continuously filtrate our air systems throughout every working and learning space in our district. We've distributed devices and technology to over 2,500 students. And coming soon, just stay tuned, of course. We'll be updating flooring, windows, and bathrooms, all in the attempt again to improve air quality and improve the workspace for each and every one, our students and staff members alike. And of course, our stakeholders out in the community. We will also be upgrading the electrical and network infrastructure to continue to support the upgrades and technology that we have in every learning space as well. Those are our accomplishments and of course our goals for the future. That is Area 4, Facilities and Technology. And thank you for your time. Next, Area 5.
Wow. I just want to say thank you to my colleague, she's unable to be here this morning. Her name is Mrs. Ida Jackson. She's with Selma's Nonviolence Center for Truth and Reconciliation. And like Dr. Williams said, Area 5, safety and wellness, it's a blessing. It's a blessing in the midst of this pandemic. And I'm nervous because, when I was tasked with the position to carry this out, I just thought about everything that we've gone through since the start of the pandemic, and I wanted to get it right. I really did. So with our team members, the support, my academic support team, Dr. Williams and Dr. Ford, just want to say thanks. Selma City Schools, again, is pleased to announce the inclusion of Area 5 of our district strategic plan, which is safety and wellness. This area of the framework for excellence, it focuses on our physical, emotional, and mental safety of our scholars and staff. Again, goal 5 is to ensure the physical, emotional, and mental wellness of all scholars and staff. Our objective is to foster healthy minds and bodies in safe and engaging learning environments. In terms of the 3 components, it is a holistic perspective. When we think about the kids in the hallways from a physical standpoint, we want to make sure that they're safe. They're not engaging in behaviors that can cause harm to themselves and other people. We want to make sure that they're safe in the classrooms. We also think about security cameras from a physical standpoint, making sure that they're working. And then last but not least, think about COVID. We're still in the midst of this pandemic. So we want to make sure that we're still staying masked up and that we're practicing social distancing. From an emotional standpoint, social emotional learning, we all know before the pandemic, this was just as important as academic learning. Social emotional learning coordinator, Ms. Randolph, does a beautiful job of ensuring that our district emphasizes those morning check-ins, morning meetings. I love to see the teachers with the fist bumps with our scholars. My thing is the thumbs up. We love to have them to journal because we want them to feel safe, emotionally, not just physically. We want them to be able to know that they can express themselves, not just to teachers, but to everybody within the district. Our research shows panorama data, supportive relationships can help a child to overcome adversity. And I just love it because they not only have supportive relationships with the teachers, the principals, the district, even the cafeteria workers and custodians and the nurses, counselors. We see those supportive relationships all throughout our district. We want the kids to be able to know that they have routines in place, especially with the younger kids. They appreciate routines. They appreciate protocol. The older children do too, even though we might think they don't. They love structure. They also love that peer interaction. So that taps into maintaining the safe learning environments to promote and ensure the emotional safety, not just one scholar, but every scholar. Number 3, implement trauma-informed self-care and mindfulness strategies, one of my favorites. Trauma-informed teaching, I can't stress that enough. Oh my. When I think about trauma-informed teaching, I think about those teachers who literally take time every morning to make sure that those kids are okay. Handle with care, our mental health coordinator. She came up with that extra layer of support for our families. If our scholars are having a bad day or not before they come to school, we need to know. They might not be able to concentrate at the start of the day. They might need to be taken outside of the office, the classroom. They just might need that to check in with the counselor or the principal. And that's okay, but we will know. So that's an extra layer of support that we will have. Self-care, I love it. We have self-care rooms in every school. Beautiful. They're beautiful rooms, they're individualized, tailored to the teachers. We also provide duty-free lunch at every school. We did this before the pandemic, need to do more of it now. My academic support team, they step in along with district admin and other team members to relieve those teachers so we can watch the class. Mindfulness strategies, one can be simple as mindful eating. Kids are in the lunch cafeteria or their classroom, just teach them a little strategy to just absorb the food. I do. How's that peach taste? They love pizza. They love pizza. Taco Tuesday. They love this. But just let them engage in that particular strategy. Focus on the texture of the food, the aroma. That's just one strategy. 4, we want to promote community mental health and wellness of scholars and staff. Again, we have partnerships with our mental health agencies, behavioral agencies across the city. We have partnerships in Montgomery, which I'm proud of. We're deepening and strengthening these partnerships on a daily basis. At the start of this pandemic, the anxiety symptoms worsened for girls at least by 35%. If I'm not mistaken, 19% for boys. And that was just at the start of the pandemic. You can imagine what the percentages are now. So we have to be purposeful in taking care of our scholars and our families and our teachers. We have Suicide Prevention Awareness Month for the month of September. Thank you, Mayor Perkins. We have a proclamation in place. Research was shared with the community. Our community engagement specialist, Ms. Washington, developed the mental health resources that we share with her on our webpage, because we're trying to heal not just our district, we're trying to heal the community. Please check out our district website so you can see the virtual common room. If you touch on the fireplace, I think you get nature sounds. So just check that out. We also have, I'm not gonna get long. We also have links to different resources, mental health wise, different numbers, because we're all going through and we need each other to come through. So check out that particular webpage. Okay, lastly, we want to promote healthy eating, nutrition, and community wellness activities, cafeteria lunches. We have our Mrs. Adams district to make sure that those lunches are healthy. We want to make sure that we engage in healthy cooking classes, which will benefit me personally. In terms of wellness activities, our PE coaches do a beautiful job virtually with providing those activities for us as staff. We have a partnership with YMCA yoga teacher. She will be coming in to teach us yoga. And our membership, if I'm not mistaken, $30. I go 3 days a week, so you all come join me. And we also want to promote Sunday for our scholars, partnerships with UAB to come in, talk to us about healthy and nutrition also is in place. And I just want to mention that we have support circles in place, restorative circles for our scholars, for our teachers. EAP, Employer Assistance Program, is in place if they need to reach out to a counselor. And nonviolent conflict reconciliation. We don't want our scholars fighting, arguing with each other. We spend too much time around each other not to get along. So we're trying to not just promote non-conflict resolution, but empathy. Couple non-conflict resolution with empathy. No cyberbullying, no bullying. All of this goes together. Mental health forums, that's part of education also with our scholars across the district. I thank you. I just want to say that if you're broken, you're feeling broken, we're here for you, the academic support team. And the last time I checked, we won't give up on each other because broken crayons still color. Thank you.
Broken crayons, they still color. Next up, before we get to our keynote address, just want to remind everyone in this room already knows this. We have some amazing scholars from pre-kindergarten up to the 12th graders that we have walking the halls here at Selma High School. And as an educator, we all know the greatest joy is seeing those children that have passed through our classrooms, sat on our desks, stayed after school, just meet whatever success they have set for themselves in their lives. And so right now, I just have a privilege. I feel privileged to just introduce just one of those scholars. Alexis Perry, she's a sophomore here at Selma High School. I really got to know her when she entered the 7th grade, and I spent my time as a support administrator for RB Hudson Middle School. And this young lady, personifies the intellect, the grace, and the poise that we expect from someone to wear the name Saint. So to introduce our keynote speaker, I'm invited to the podium, Ms. Celeste Perry.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not going to take long at all. I'm just here to introduce Dr. Shields. Dr. Lamar Shields is an inspirational speaker, educator, thought leader, author, and artist who loves to create and build with purpose in all aspects of his professional and personal life. A former faculty member at the Johns Hopkins School of Education and Open Society Institute, fellow Dr. Shields is a co-founder and senior director of education and innovation at the Convino Camp Group. Dr. Lamar Shields dedicated his life to inspiring adults and youth alike to pursue a higher purpose, achieve sustainable value for long-term success, and cope with adversity in order to create opportunities in their personal, professional, and spiritual lives. This bilingual author, master teacher, public speaker, social entrepreneur, and thought leader is a dynamic presence whose message has received national attention from outlets such as NPR, ABC, NBC, CNN, and BET. Dr. Shields brings his unparalleled vision and enthusiasm to stage through keynote presentations, dynamic workshops, and organizational trainings. Dr. Shields is a former classroom teacher that focuses his work on inspiring the youth, educators, and youth advocates in underserved communities. He has written a variety of innovative educational curriculum used by educators, school systems, churches, and community organizations nationwide, including Dare to be Queen, hands-on strategies to combat youth violence, rhythm and reasons, and hip-hop tool for the classroom. He approaches his work with an international lens and has led community service projects with youth people in the United States to serve communities, Puerto Rico, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. Dr. Shields works on the behalf of children and young adults who are at the greatest risk of school-based discrimination and or academic failure due to poverty, disability, race, ethnicity, and failure and immigration. An English language learner status, sexual orientation, gender identity, homelessness, or involvement in the foster care or juvenile systems. Dr. Shields helps educators rediscover their passion for teaching with Spark. Multi-day workshops offered by Campino Groups with his co-founder, Dr. Miriam Gilmore. Together, they also host district-wide and conferences across the country for educators to develop their SEL skills and connect more deeply with their students. Dr. Shields has a PhD in educational leadership and administration from the Johns Hopkins University, a master in education from Loyola College, Maryland, and a bachelor's in science and political from Grambling State University. Please help me welcome Dr. Lamar Darnell Shields.
Let's keep it going for that sister who just read that long bio. They went hardcore for me. Well, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. So let me just say something before I get into this talk. I want to just, first of all, thank your amazing superintendent. I feel like I'm at the Grammys right here. I feel like I'm at the award ceremony. And they know I move around Raphael. I said, Raphael, did you tell the cameraman that I move around? He said, yeah, we know you like all over the place, Dr. Shields. But I had to just come up here and this feels good right here, Dr. Williams. I feel like I should be getting an award from I know y'all thought I was Denzel Washington. I walked in here. Before that, real quick aside, Denzel Washington outside Chris Rock. I know you should have felt that. So I feel like I should be getting an award from somebody. But I want to just say, Alexa, did she leave out here? Did she leave? Just check. So, real story. First, I want to thank Dr. Raphael Simmons for allowing me to be here, reconnected. I want to just thank Dr. Williams for always just being who you are, watching you grow. And we have history, we run together, we've talked, we've debated on issues, and to see the sister up here who just has the grace of Dr. Maya Angelou, you know, just the spirit of Sojourner Truth and the tenacity of Coretta Scott King and the movement of Beyonce with her shoes on. Yeah, all of that in there, running the district, which is not easy. To not only to her, but to the board for allowing me to be in your space today. But I want to go back to Alexa. I wish she was here because when I was pulling up, and I was driving, you know, in the car with my brother Raphael, I was saying, we got to school, I said, isn't the middle school near here? We talked about being at the middle school. I said, there was this young lady who I met when she was in the 7th grade. And I don't know if you remember this. The 7th grade, there was this young man. And my son was here. So my son, at the time, he was in 6th grade. And my son traveled with me because he's a part of this famous president, this famous photo. Y'all might know his name, Barack Obama. My son is a part of the Barack Obama exhibit. It's a famous photo of my son. Only 1 or 2 photos with Barack Obama with young people and children. And so I bring my son here. We're in the middle school. We're talking. And when we left, so I met these students with the NASA, wearing the NASA gear, and I called one of my, I got people in my phone book, I can just pick up the phone. And one of my friends she's a rocket scientist for NASA. And I said to her, I said, I got this cute little girl right here who literally is you, I think, when you were this young. She went on LSU and did a great thing. And I said to my brother Simmons, I said, my son was so smitten by this girl. We come in, he says, this is the one that's about to introduce you. My son is gonna lose. Y'all don't understand. My son was, you know, older women. She's a year older than him, okay? And he was in the 6th grade. He calls me Baba, which means father in Swahili. And we were leaving. He said, Baba, man, that girl was cute. First of all, there was another boy there too who was really sharp. And she was really, really smart. And for me to see her, so I whispered to her, I said, do you remember? She's like, no. And I started naming stuff, and she was shaking her hands like, you in the 7th grade, my son, and you put on the NASA jacket, we walked, and she was like, yes, that was me. So I want to start out by saying that this is why this work is important. Because you don't know who you're going to meet along your journey. As I sat here and thought about this young lady who I met when she was in 7th grade, and now she's in 10th grade, I'm thinking about my son, I'm thinking about the growth of not only watching your great superintendent do this work, and also watching these team members do this work. These team members who are part of teaching and learning, culture and community climate, leadership management, governance, a part of facilities and technology, safety and wellness, to see the growth of this school district from the first time I came here and spoke to over 200 or 300 teachers in the auditorium says a lot about your school leader. So let's just give her a round of applause. It says a lot about the young lady who just introduced me. Let's just give her a round of applause. Let's just keep it going. We're supposed to be celebrating, right? All our people who work on this plan, get on your feet, let's make some noise. Come on, make some noise. We are celebrating today. No, keep going, make some noise, clap, fist bump somebody, high five somebody next to you. Just congratulations and keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. We are celebrating. I came here for a celebration. Wow. Got my theme, all I want to do is win, no matter what. You see, while we're celebrating doctors, and while we're celebrating nurses, and while we're celebrating law enforcement, there's some superheroes and sheroes that I know. There's some people who didn't get extra pay for what they were doing. There's some people who had to come on Zoom wearing their pajamas sometimes, dressed halfway up and halfway down. You don't know what's going on. There's some people whose kids were in the background running back and forth. Mama should have had clothes on. Daddy's cursing kids out, but some of these schools, Doc, we got some massage therapists coming. That's what I heard you say, right? We talk about technology. I heard we got some home health care workers gonna come to your house. I heard there's some people that's gonna do some fitness and some workout. There's some people, we got some child care service, some babysitting service, we got some dances. We're gonna learn how to twerk, we're gonna twerk, learn how to drop it out. No, that's what I'm talking about, right? You came up here, I wanted to just follow you. And when you was like, when you were talking about broken crayons, I said, I said, Dr. Williams, who broke the crayons? She said, you broke the crayons, they still come. I said, I want to find a kid who broke the crayons. So we're celebrating you because this is hard work. I get a chance to do this work all over the country, and I'm always so humble. As she was reading this bio, I'm like, who in a ham sandwich is she talking about? Because what I remember, I was that little black boy who grew up in Chicago, a mixed roots black and Latino kid who had a Spanish grandmother and a Spanish black grandmother, and they didn't get along. I had to figure out, before there was equity and equality, before there was diversity, before there was all of these circles around restorative practice, I had to make sure these two grandmamas, Abuelita and Big Mama over there, got along. So I learned at a very young age about working together. And so I came here to celebrate you. And I know this work is hard. Turn to your neighbor and say, this is some hard work. No, turn to your neighbor and say, this is some hard work. You all know it. Some of you all got kids. You couldn't wait, Dr. Wednesday went back to school. We ain't gonna talk about that. Some of the teachers couldn't wait to get their own kids out of the house. But you still did it. And I think about this quote with Dr. King. He talks about your head and your heart. He says, one day we will learn that the heart can never be totally right if the head is totally wrong. So I want to do a quick check-in. I just want to ask you today, where is your head and where is your heart? Doc, today, where is your head and where is your heart? Where's your head today? Where's your heart? I want you all to think about this, because this is hard work. Some days, Dr. Williams, I know you run and you work out there. Some days you just said, can I just, y'all remember the Calgon commercial? I'm about to age myself. Calgon, take me away. Or some of them, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? There's some days, Brother Simmons, when you sat in the car and you was like, Lord, do I need to go into this building today? So it's important as you talk about wellness to check in. It's important to check in with one another. And like my friend from Nigeria, and we're going to talk about this a little deeper tomorrow, he says, Dr. Shields, he says, why do Americans ask these rhetorical questions when they don't really want to know the answer? And I said, what are you talking about? He says, you all ask this stupid question. How are you today? And you don't even wait for the answer. I remember, Doc, I was at the gas station with my sister, and she asked this guy, how was your day? He was like, oh, this thing's effed up, the world's over. He just went off, and I looked at her and said, yeah, you don't have an answer for that, do you? So as we talk about self-care and wellness, as we talk about this committee, we talk about checking in. How did you sleep last night? What are you reading? How are you taking care of yourself? We got to look out for each other. We got to check in. We got to ask them, where's your head and where's your heart? This is hard work. So we need the facilities to make us feel good and breathe well as we walk in. We need the air to be fresh. We need it to be safe. We need to have a classroom and a school climate environment where we're welcome. My mentor, shout out to Dr. Freeman Rabowski, one of my teachers, one of the smartest men, who is your homeboy from Alabama. He's the president of the University of Maryland. When he was the dean, they call him the boy dean. He said he used to call schools and just check in with the principals and just check in with whoever was going to answer the phone. And if they didn't answer the phone, like, welcome, just, good morning, welcome to the great school, he would show up at the school. Because when you talk about equity, equity starts in a parking lot, and then the very first person you meet at the door, if they don't greet you. So we talk about climate, and we talk about safety, and we talk about practices. How do we engage kids? How do we make them engage? And how do we get them to understand the importance of education? Education comes from a Latin word, educate, which means to pull out. So stop pushing stuff into these kids and start pulling out. But then we got to talk to you. Because if you are not well, teacher, board member, superintendent, then the people that you work with are not going to be well. So I always tell people, the very first thing you do in the morning, Dr. Ford, and I want you to do this today. When you wake up, don't check your cell phone, because when you check your cell phone, the very first thing, you're giving away your sovereignty to Instagram, to Facebook, and social media, and to this lady, Dr. Williams, sending you all those text messages, what you should be doing and what you should be. You take care of yourself, you breathe, and you say something that you're grateful for. You write, you journal, you have that quiet time. And if you don't have it, then you get up early, because these babies in this building, they need you. So as we talk about a framework, what is a framework? A framework is about support. A framework cannot be developed by one person. That's why you have these teams and these committees. And so tomorrow, my partner Eric is going to be coming down later on this evening. We're going to work with the school leaders to dive into some of the things. We're going to talk about the celebration. We're also going to talk about the highs and talk about some of the lows. Because the reality is this. I know the Bible says when one or two are gathered, I'm going to give you the hood version. When one or two are gathered, there's going to be some mess. Let me say it again. When one or two or three are gathered, there's going to be somebody trifling in the team. Somebody didn't do the work in the group. Let me just tell you what I used to love about the smart girls. I would have sat back Dr. Williams all the time. You know when the teachers break you up into these groups, and then you're like, man, Raphael is on my team. You know he ain't gonna do nothing. But Avis is on our team. Raphael, like, yeah, we're gonna sit, because you know she don't do all the work, and we just gonna shine. So tomorrow we're gonna talk about what did it take to put this framework together. We're gonna talk about we're gonna create a strategic plan. We're gonna talk about how do we monitor this work. So when I get called to come out and speak, all they say was, Dr. Shields, can you just give me like a sheet of paper? Give me 10 things you could do with girls, 10 things you could do with educators. I said, that paper means nothing if your mind has not changed. So you can put this framework together right here. You can have this paper, but the people who are moving the mission, who are moving it forward, they have to not buy in. I hate this word. I hate when people say you need to buy in. They need to believe in. They need to believe in these babies who are coming through these doors every day. They need to believe in the mamas and the daddies and the Medias and the big mamas and the grandmamas. Because the kids who are coming in these buildings, their parents are sending the best that they got. And they don't need to be judged by those teachers. Just last week in Baltimore, we celebrated the death or the anniversary of the death of Tupac Amaru Shakur. And I know I got some Tupac fans, and some of y'all just give me a little finger like that. I see y'all, I know y'all listen to some hip hop and some gospel too, but I know you got a little bad boy back. I see Dr. Ford gave you that week. I know. We weren't always saved, right? I know, why did they ask me to come? That person they introduced, I don't know who those degrees came from. But last week we celebrated Tupac Shakur. I want to share something with you about why your job is important. In 1996, he was killed. When I talk about how he died, we talk about how he lived. And I did a storytelling series last week where we brought in people who knew Tupac when he was a young man. See, what people didn't know about him is Tupac loved ballet. He loved Shakespeare at 11 years old. No training at 11 years old in New York City. He was in a Raisin in the Sun. Went to school in Baltimore, schoolyards with Jada Pinkett Smith and a couple other people. So I had these people share these stories in front of a live audience. And one of the ladies, I want to go somewhere with why you're doing what you're doing. She met him when he was 12 years old. And she ran a library in Baltimore, just like this. And they were looking for creative frameworks, creative strategies to pull urban kids into the library. And so they had a poetry contest. So the way that the story goes is Miss Rebecca shared with me. She says, we put it out there, we sent it out as like MTV poetry contest at the library. And so Tupac and this kid named Mouse Darren, they win the contest, Doc. But just like your kids, they can't get there to claim the prize. So what did this woman do? She did what most revolutionary teachers would do. She picked them up. Now we know back then, we talking about the 80s, you pick a kid up right now, you may go to jail. but you all know you've done something that you shouldn't have been doing, but it was bigger than you. She picked him up, they come down, perform. They win the contest in Baltimore City right now. There are only 2 poets in the world whose poetry is in a vault in the wall in the library. Edgar Allan Poe and Tupac Amaru Shakur. Why do I share that story with the people who are leading this charge? It's because just like you, that woman saw something in a kid that nobody else saw. Just like you, in his song, he said, mama, even though you were a crack fiend, mama, you were a black queen, mama. He saw that even though that the mother was not involved, I see something in him that some of you all don't see. So as we celebrate this framework, this is about celebrating the gift that many people don't see. And so this was some hard work. And so what I want to do is I want to take some time to get you to sort of reflect on how we got here. You look at this image right here and you can think of your school. We all have been in the circle. Look at Tyler Perry. Medea's even in the circle right there. There's a blame game, but your superintendent, some of all the other leaders said, we're not going to stay in this circle. We're not going to stay here because our children deserve more. Raise your hand if you've ever been in this circle before. Raise your hand. Denial is not a river in Africa. Let me say it, más despacio, slower. Raise your hand if you've been in this circle. I have been in this circle. But what I heard your superintendent say is, we're not going to stay there. We want you here. Put your hand up like this. We want integrity. We want accountability. We want the customer, the kids first, continuous improvement, enjoying our work. And what's in the palm of your hand? One team, one goal. One team and one goal. That's what this framework is about. We don't want to go back to the circle of the blame game. It's so much to blame. We can blame the president. We can blame the city council. We can blame the governor. We can blame R. Kelly, Kanye West. We can blame all these people, right? But the reality is that it's not going to change. And I love that you have a plan. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. You cannot say, school board, you cannot say, principal, that you don't have a roadmap, that you don't have a framework. I give you a map in Washington, D.C., and I say to you, I want you to find where the World Trade Center once stood. How unfair is that? I give you a map of Virginia Beach, but we're in Alabama, and I said, I want you to find Virginia Beach. How unfair is that? You have a roadmap. You now have a framework that you can use, but you got to believe in it. Not buy in. I hate sitting at those tables, but we're trying to get people to buy in. Turn to your neighbor and say, believe it. Say it again, believe it. You have a framework. You have a roadmap. But there's several areas I want you to think about as you're looking at this framework. The best from everyone. We want the best from everybody. Powerful knowledge, education with character, leadership in every role. See, what happened is during this time of this planning right here, all of these individuals became leaders. They became a leader in their own right. And then continuous improvement. It's not practice makes perfect. It's over and over again. You keep working at it and keep working at it and keep working at it. And so as you think about this framework, as you think about this foundation, we want the best from everyone. That's what good leadership does. One thing my good friend Anissa says, she says, Darnell, you know how to pull the best out of everybody. And they believe it. They believe it because I, like this woman who knew Tupac, saw beyond the poverty that he grew up in. So you ought to know he was poor, where he had to staple his pants together. Saw beyond the man not living in his house. Saw beyond his father not being there. So as you talk about this plan, I want you to think about those things. And I love Albert Einstein. He said, if I had an hour to solve a problem and life depended on the solution, I will spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper questions to ask. See, most of us want to get to the answer. Just ask the questions. I'm going to give you a couple of questions I want you to reflect on silently. I want you to think about what this process for you was like, because this is a celebration. But I want you to think about the process that you went through. And tomorrow we're going to go real deep. We're going to go deep, but today we want to celebrate and be reflective. What do you hope to achieve this school year? What does success look like? How will you measure your progress? What level of urgency for change exists within you? Put it back on you. What will you need to change about the way you work as a leader? How will you support and collaborate? What are you willing to invest and divest? What are you willing to invest and divest? So as you think about this framework, this plan, I want you to sit there right now. I'm gonna give you about a minute. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the late nights. I want you to think about the Google Docs. I want you to think about all the conversations. I want you to think about how upset, and even though the kids were at the forefront of what you were thinking about, but you also have human nature where individuals get frustrated with one another. I want you to think about those questions. And I want anybody just to share. Anybody that you want to say, hey, I'll take number 7, just share, because we're celebrating you today. This is not supposed to be a funeral. Tomorrow's going to be hardcore, let me just tell you. Tomorrow we're going to dig up in. I had to bring my buddy all the way from St. Louis, big dude there, to come down. Tomorrow we're going to dig. Today we're celebrating. But anybody want to take one of these questions and just share publicly, because we're the public. It's something about a public commitment that has a lot of weight. Anybody want to share some of the questions that you might have asked yourself? Anybody? Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
How would you measure progress?
Okay.
When I see the students excel, they get the gains that they're striving. When I see all the points excel, being supported at the aspect is there, where they are, and we're growing them as well. And when I see this community, still excel, also growing in the direction in which we should go.
There we go. 2 claps, 2 claps. 2 claps, 2 claps. Let's choose a question. Just one other person. Anybody? Thanks, Doc. Anybody? Yes, go ahead. Go. Yes.
I'm a neighbor of Selma, so I know that we complain a lot about what's going on in Selma, but I have made it a charge for me to become more involved with what's going on in the school and outside of the school, so that I can make a change on the outside. I know that the head stuff.
Yes, 2 claps, 2 claps. Dr. Williams, go ahead.
I was actually going to speak to that same piece, the level of urgency, because the time is now, and I often say our scholars get one shot at this. You know, we don't get do-overs when it comes to the lives of these babies. And so the sense of urgency has to be great. And, you know, I love what you said about not having buy-in, but we look at it as commitment, which is the same as the belief that you're talking about. And in order for us to make the progress that we need to make, we have to be committed and believe in these babies and come on one accord as a community. Because it's not, I love that picture where the finger pointing, you know, pointing the finger doesn't resolve problems. And so I just encourage everyone to get on board. Let's work together and let's do this.
2 claps, 2 claps. I want to introduce you, that we're going to wrap about 10 minutes. I want to introduce you to a concept that I write about and I lecture about and I love. Repeat after me, Ubuntu. Let's do it again, Ubuntu. So Ubuntu basically means I am because we are. Ubuntu is not a watered down word like diversity. When somebody says to you right there, we have another diversity workshop, you're like, oh Lord, here we go again. But if you say we're going to talk about this framework of Ubuntu, first of all, it sounds kind of sexy. If I look, she got all excited. You see that? You see right here? You see what I'm saying? When you look at this image of these young people, I want to tell a story. Before this happened, there was a guy who was traveling to Africa, and he was traveling, and he sees this group of young men right here. And he says, whoever gets to that tree will all get a piece of candy. You know, candy kids, I don't care what culture. These kids could be in Europe, they could be in Latin America. When you talk about candy with kids, there's gonna be some running, right? So he noticed, Doc, that when the kids ran, they all held their hands. And they ran and they touched the tree and he came back. And so the traveler asked the gentleman who was from there, he said, why do they do that? He said, because they were raised on a concept called Ubuntu, which means I am because we are, that we all are affected by one another. That if we all are going for the same goal, we're gonna get it, and we're gonna split that candy. These kids were raised up on the concept that Desmond Tutu, Bishop Nelson Mandela, and Selma and Bishop Nelson Mandela, and also Trevor Noah, the funny comedian, all come out of South Africa, where they grew up with this concept. Nelson Mandela said, there's a concept known as Ubuntu, the profound sense that we are human only through human interaction. Turn to your neighbor and say, I need you. You all know that great Hezekiah Walker song, I need you to survive. If God knew not to give me a singing voice, brother, because I would sing all the time, to be real. I would have sang a whole presentation today if I could sing. But I'm not going to do that. But when you look at this concept, it talks about the achievement of all. That's what Ubuntu is about. And then I love this guy, Doc Rivers, who's a great coach out of Chicago. He discovered the concept of Ubuntu when he was coaching for what team? Talk to me. What team won a championship? Boston. And he discovered the concept of Ubuntu. There's a movie about him where he talks about the contribution of all coming together. As Public Enemy said it, move as a team, never move alone. And so as we talk about this concept of Ubuntu, this is what this framework is about without you even knowing it. The spirit of Ubuntu went into those rooms when those teams were together or when they were separate. The framework of Ubuntu was in this right here, even though you did not know it. And so I want to get ready to close with this story of the geese, and I love this story of the geese. If you notice geese, they fly in a V formation. And some people say they fly in this V formation just like race cars are like V's for the aerodynamic. But if you notice when these geese are flying, they're honking at one another. They're honking. And I'm telling you, later on, you'll be like, I never thought about it. They're honking, but what's interesting, when they are flying, they shift position. So this goose goes there, and then they keep going, because they know eventually everybody is going to be in the front. See, everybody's trying to get to that position. But eventually, with the work that you did, everybody's going to go there. And then what researchers tell us that when one goose gets sick, two fly down and support him or her. Then they wait and they come back together. So they're not flying and say, get your trifling butt out the way. I don't know if you're a chicken or a bird. I don't know if you're a goose. I don't know if you're a hen. They're encouraging one another as they travel through this vast land. The difference between them and us, somebody has to tell us how great we are. They already know it's in their DNA. See, somebody has to tell us, but it's already a part of who they are. And so as you do this work, I want to hear some honkers. Let me hear you say honk, honk. Let me hear you say honk, honk. I want you to encourage one another. I want you to pour into one another. I want you to believe in one another, because again, as we look at this framework, right now it's just a piece of paper, but it can be much greater than that. And the way that I started, I want everybody to get on your feet right now. And I want you to just make some noise. I want you to applaud yourself. I want you to think of this song, Ain't No Stopping Us, right now. I want you to keep going, keep clapping, 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 keep clapping. We are celebrating you today. We are celebrating all the great things. You got this. It's going to be a great year. Let's continue to work together. I'm so excited and honored to be working with your school leaders tomorrow. I want to thank this amazing superintendent, Dr. Lewis, for allowing me to be here. Dr. Simmons and all the other people who brought me here to work with you. I love you. You can't do nothing about it. Let's keep this thing going. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Shields. Give him another round of applause. I will absolutely say he nailed it. This is exciting work. And again, I just want to thank our Board of Education, our community, and our district leaders and supporters who are a part of each aspect of this work. And Dr. Shields, you nailed it. You really did. And I just really want us all to resonate on this work. And Dr. Shields, you nailed it. You really did. I knew this
say it again, see? Yeah, I had to get right. In case you didn't hear it the first time. Because at the end of the day, it is about all of us. And, reflecting on the piece about the blame game and how it's so easy to look at what's not happening as opposed to celebrating what is happening. And today is about a celebration. It's about celebrating the fact that our district is moving forward and we have a plan. We're not just on a wayward road hoping that we get success and hoping that we find the right formula to improve the outcomes for our babies. We have a plan. And that framework for excellence involves each and every one of you. And, I encourage everyone who's listening, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're here live or you go back and review it later, please give us some feedback. We need your thoughts. What's missing with our plan? What do you love about it? What do you want to see more of? We've got a QR code that's available for you to immediately go and give us feedback on each of the areas. And as I stated, if there's something that's missing that we need to dig a little deeper on, we're committed to making sure that we give our babies what they need to be successful. This is a beautiful community, and our babies need to have all of us backing them so that they can soar, so that they can truly embody the greatness that they were meant for. And that takes all of us. One team, one voice, committed to excellence. And it's not about buy-in, it's about believing. And we all need to be on the same page as it relates to believing in our babies and believing in giving them again what they need to be successful and modeling it so that they can see from us. Because our children are watching. Our children are watching. They see what we do, they see what we don't do. And we want to make sure that we're providing that model for them. So again, on behalf of our Board of Education, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank Mr. Simmons and our team leads and the team members for their commitment to excellence and their detail-oriented aspect. Thank you to Alexis Perry for introducing our amazing speaker. And again, Dr. Shields, you never disappoint. And we really appreciate you driving it home for us and reminding us of just how important this work is and keeping us focused on where our head is and where our heart is. And our heart is in making sure that we are doing this work for our babies. So again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Please, please, please give us your feedback. And again, we are Team Selma, one team,